All right, guys, we are going to go into chapter 11. So I'm doing the essentials of chapter 11. Basically, it's about solving system of equations with two variables. So there are four different ways actually. One by graphing, one by substitution, one by elimination, and one using a calculator. So right now I'm going to show you the graphing, elimination, and graphing, substitution, elimination. Take this system right here, x minus y equals to 3, and 7x minus y equals to negative 3. I know the solution should be at -1, -4, because I've done this before. But I'm going to show you how to do it with graphing. So when we are graphing, we have to solve both equations for y equals. So let's take the first equation over here, x minus y equal to 3, and solve that for y. Well, I'm going to take the x to the other side. Negative y equals negative x plus 3. Divide by that -1. Y equals x minus 3. Okay, so we know this is in the format of mx plus b. I know the slope is 1. The y-intercept is -3. So I know the slope is 1. My y-intercept is -3. That means I can start at -3 on the y-axis. And since my slope is 1, I'm going to write 1 as 1 over 1. I'm going to go up 1 to the right, or it's vice versa, down and to the left. The second equation, 7x minus y equals -3. Do the same thing. Negative y equals to -7x minus 3. All I did was take the 7 to the other side, divide by a -1. Y equals 7x plus 3. So now I know the slope is 7 and my intercept is 3. Since it's 7, I'm going to go up 7 to the right 1, or down and to the left. Okay, so let's start with the first equation there. I start at -3. So here we go. Here's -3. And I'm going to go up 1 to the right 1. So up 1 to the right 1. Up 1 to the right 1. Up 1 to the right 1. Or down 1 to the left. Down 1 to the left. And then using a ruler, this is this equation right here. So this is y equals x minus 3. The second one, 7x plus 3. So I'm going to start at 3. And it says to go up 7 to the right 1. Well, I'm not going to go up 7 to the right 1, but I can go what? Down 7 to the left 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to the left 1 gives me over here. Since I have no other place, all I need are technically 2 points to create a line. So I got these 2 points. So that's this guy. So let's see. We have, let me write it here, y equals 7x plus 3. As you see where the two lines intersect, as you see right here, here's my intersection, which is at -1, comma, -4. So what does that mean? That means that if x is -1 and y is -4 in my original statement here, I should have them being equal. So -1 minus a -4 is +3. -7 minus a -4 is a -3. So graphing, all we have to do is to first solve for y. And you should have it in the format of mx plus b. That's your slope and y-intercept for both. You can start with your y-intercept and go with your slope. If it's positive, it's up to the right or down to the left. All right, and so that's graphing. The next one I'm going to show you is substitution. So, I mean, I could have done substitution on that other problem, but we wanted graphing. So in substitution, imagine I have these two equations, negative 7x plus 4y equals 24, 4x minus 4y equals to 0, and I need to use the idea of substitution. Well, the idea of substitution is this. You take one equation, either the top or bottom, and solve for one variable, and we don't care, either x or y or whatever variables you have. Once you found that, then you are going to substitute it back into the second equation that you didn't choose and solve. So for example, I got two equations here. I got the top and bottom, 1 and 2. So let's say I want to, I don't know, take the top equation and I want to solve either for x or y. You know what? Let me solve for y. So I'm just going to start with that top equation. Negative 7x plus 4y equals to 24. And I want to solve for y. So 4y equals to 7x plus 24. I did the 7x to the other side. Divide by 4. Y equals 7/4 x plus 6. All right. So now I figured out what y is. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into the other equation that I didn't touch, which is the bottom, and I'm going to substitute that into the y, hence the substitution method. So I'm going to take that second equation, 4x minus 4y equals to 0, and I'm going to plug in y to be this 7/4 x plus 6 and solve for my x. So 4x minus 4, y was 7/4 x plus 6, equaling to 0. Now I'm going to distribute this negative 4 throughout. Be careful with your signs. Negative 4 times 7/4 x is negative 7x. Negative 4 times 6 is negative 24. So I end up with negative 3x minus 24 equaling to 0. Solving for x, negative 3x is equal to 24. Divide by that negative 3x is negative 8. Now I know the value of x. I need to figure out the value of y. So now I'm going to go back to that equation that I solved for y. See it right here? And I'm going to substitute in, again, the word substitute, x to be negative 8. So I have y equals 7/4 x plus 6. Substitute x to be negative 8. Y equals 7/4 times negative 8 plus 6. So y equals to 7/4 times 8. That gives me negative 14 plus 6. So y is equal to negative 8. Hence, my solution is negative 8, negative 8. X is negative 8, y is negative 8. And that was the answer given. Again, what does that mean is that for these two system of equations right here, in order for these to be equal at the same time, x has to be negative 8, y has to be negative 8. So if I graph this, then I know for a fact that this line and this line intersect at that point, negative 8, negative 8. So graphing takes some time. Substitution takes some time. There's one more, which is elimination. And this is more algebraic, and it's probably one of the easiest one to do. All right, so I chose this problem. 0 is equal to negative 2y plus 10 minus 6x, and 14 minus 22y equals to 18x. I have to use the elimination process. My answer should come out to be 2, negative 1. All right, for elimination, you need the x's and y's on one side and everything else on the other side. So that's our first step. Do I have the x's and y's on one side? No. I can take this x and this y to the other side, and that gives me 6x plus 2y equaling to 10. How about here? Nope, I got to take this 18 to the other side, and then this 14 is to this other side. So I end up with negative 18x minus 22y equals negative 14. So that's the first step, is to make sure that you have x's and y's on one side, everything else on the other. The idea of elimination eliminate means to get rid of. So now you have a choice. You can either get rid of the variable x, or you can get rid of the variable y. If you want to get rid of the variable x, first of all, these two have to be the same number. Second of all, one has to be positive, one is negative. So if I decide to get rid of this x, I need to find a number that's in common between 6 and 18. Well, this is kind of an easy one. I know I can multiply the top by a 3 and get 18. In case if this was a 7 or a 5, one of the easiest way would be is to multiply the top equation by the bottom number. So if I didn't want to think, I would have multiplied the top by 18, and I would have multiplied the bottom equation by 6. But I don't want to do all that work because I know 18, so I'm going to take this top right here, multiply it by 3. So here we go. My top equation now becomes 18x plus 6y equals to 30. As you see, I multiplied everything by 3. I didn't do anything to the bottom, so that stays as negative 18x minus 22y equals to negative 14. Now you have to add these two equations together. What happens when I add? This positive 18 and negative 18 are now eliminated, hence the elimination method. Excuse me. A positive 6 and negative 22 is a negative 16y. A positive 30 and a negative 14 is a positive 16. Dividing both sides by that negative 16, you end up with y being a negative 1. All right, now I need to solve for x. Now you can go back to any of the original problems. You can either go here or you can even go here. I like to always go back to the original, plug in for y, and solve for x. So I'm going to choose the second equation over here. Now I don't care which equation, first or second, it's your preference. So 14 minus 22y equals 18x, and I'm going to plug in y to be negative 1. So we got 14 minus 22 times negative 1 equals to 18x. So I got 14 plus 22, which is 36, equaling to 18x. Divide by the 18, we see x is 2. Hence, my solution becomes 2 comma negative 1. So this is one of the fastest ways, is the elimination, because it's algebraic. And mostly this is what we use. The next lesson will involve the calculator. So I'm going to show you how you can do this with a calculator. Just to double check your work. All right. So this ends solving system of equations in 3 different manners. We had the graphing. Make sure you solve for y first, and then graph your equations and where they intersect. You had substitution. Solve one equation for one variable, plug it into the second, and solve. And then go back, plug it in to solve for the other variable. And finally, third, the elimination. Get rid of a variable. So make sure your x's and y's are on one side, or whatever variables you have, and get rid of either the x or y by any means possible. So you can multiply, you can divide, you can add, you can do whatever needs necessary. So this is solving systems of equations.